because you took the time to do it. But if you're just trying to feel good for a moment, and you're not working things out to their completion, then you don't know anything. You don't know who you are, where you are, what's going on, nothing. How many days in a row can you do that for? How far away do you get from where you want to be, disconnected, and what's it take to get back into position? Because usually it can be as quick and easy as I'm sorry to somebody, or it can be full-blown relapse, depending on how far you get away from where you're supposed to be. Knowing where you came from and understanding your current position always keeps you in the zone. Then you just show up and you do what God has placed in front of you. And whether you fail or not at it is irrelevant, because He is the great provider, not us. So if we find ourselves leaning on our own understanding to try and figure things out, or some people like to call it processing, or lots of different things, you're in the wrong position. Wrong position. You don't have the ability to figure it out. You're not God. He is. He's good at it. You're not. So do what's in front of you, and then use His tools, and make sure that you stay in the right position. And all this other stuff is blessing. Blessing. And then everything becomes blessing. Whether it's the biggest in the world or the smallest thing in the world. Like standing next to your son at a concert, hugging on him as he leans into you and praying. Well, yeah, that's a pretty big blessing. But it just happened from being obedient. I didn't choose that. Oftentimes we choose ourselves right out of the blessing. Like the whole car story, it's such a blessing. Every time I tell it, what a blessing. People are like, what? You did what? God made the decision. Why? Because He's a great provider. When God makes decisions, it's always going to be enough and then some, right? Because we're His children, we're His sons, and He loves us more than anything in this world. And He wants us to have the best of it. Does He not? So we know His provision is always going to be at least enough. And if we continue to show up and be obedient, know our current position, we will often find that it's well more than what we initially thought. So, identifying the undeniable in your own current life, using God's Word, His tools, counselors, coaches, Dr. Jeffries, whatever, and then your community, your family. There's like no reason to go any further on anything until we have a complete understanding of that. Because you have to humble yourself and put yourself out there to understand everything that is today. And then once you get there, then you can begin to learn about obedience, which is right away, all the way in with a happy heart. And obedience breaks down like crazy now. We're going to break it down. All the way down. Because until we have an understanding of that, that's the first call to action Once we know who we are, where we are, why we are, now we have obedience in front of us, not blessing. We don't sit around and pray all day and sing Kumbaya and sprinkle some oil and do some tapping and it's all going to go away. It doesn't work like that. We have a plan of action. It's an action of the heart. Heart is obedience. And when we're obedient to the plan, the blessing comes. Always comes. I think life gets easier, it gets less stressful. We're not worried about where the provision comes from because He's the provider. We're in a constant place of, like Austin was last night, leaning into me. We are in a position of leaning into our Heavenly Father. Questions?
You said earlier that knowledge doesn't bring you closer to your Creator. If you don't do anything with the knowledge, it literally pushes you away because you spend the whole time.
At that point you are God.
Yeah, being God, so all it does is.
So you can sit there and read stuff and learn stuff all day long, but until you do stuff,
You don't understand.
it's garbage. And the more stuff you put up here, the harder it is to then do it here. So less talking, more walking leads to a happy life, honestly.
I saw some tiny little church. I saw, they have the things out front that say something. Said the best sermon is a good example. I thought that was
It's a life lived. Greatest sermon ever given was a life lived.
Well, since we're in this setting and we've had conversation like that before, like asking you guys to kind of put myself in that place, because I know that the last time I didn't realize like I was out of order or whatever. So,
Well, I would say
Sure.
the first understanding is not that you were out of order, even though you were, but that's not what it's about. So that wouldn't be the proper terminology. Because I would want you to understand it as a whole. It's not about putting things in orders in regards. So it's not like so you were far away from where you came in mentally, humility wise. And so when it's not just you, it's everybody who has been down this road and then in your current position. That's why if you stay around this community long enough, you begin to see things over and over and over again. You can identify them quicker, which helps you, as well as your position in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm, where you can catch it quicker, or it doesn't mess up your own life quickly or someone else's life quickly. And so it's just we've seen everyone go through it. Everybody. We spend all this time trying to submit or surrender. That's why we stopped using those words. Even though they're good words. For some reason, it has a frequency of like tapping out, giving up. We talked about this the other day. Being a, where pushover was the Christian way of saying that. And then suddenly you get into this place, and then your life starts to build up again. And so you get to make some money, and then you get some knowledge and some wisdom, and then we get employment. huge thing based on where you came in. But the problem is that it can really jack us up for numbers of reasons. Number one is most of the employment is in the world. We haven't been in the world that much since we've been based on where we came in. We don't really remember what the world's like. It's like going to the barber shop.
It's not what it was before, because you have, if you're accepting your position, it's a new perception of the new man. It's not the same world, so you can't claim you know how to operate in it.
Yeah, you don't know. Nobody knows. And so you need to lean in to him at all times because he's the one who knows. Because he's the one that ordained your raise and position. Call it a test, call it whatever, I don't know. But more people than not relapse between that time and, I'd say within a couple of months, those first couple paychecks, it's it. So, and you see individuals that it's like watching a freight train hit a car in slow motion. And everyone that's been there sees it. And the person that's in it says, "What freight train?" And it just happens. It's that old. You go back out into the world. Now you have all these influences, and it starts to spark pride. The old man, they like to call it, self. And there's a lot of reminiscing of the past, usually. If you had any kind of success of old jobs, careers, or stuff like that, where as you become successful, because you are going to become successful, because that's who God created you to be, you very quickly then start relying on this old stuff that is supposed to be gone. And even if it's just a thought that creates an action, one thought, one action a day over a period of time will get you off course from where you think you're supposed to be. We're not talking full-blown, relapsing. But eventually, that's where it would lead. But we're talking relapsing like, you know what? I know everything. I'm the man. I'm getting paid now to be the man. And I think I know better than everybody else, so I'm going to move out of the Adonai house. That's where it starts. And then before you know it, it's who you moving in with. It's usually yourself or someone from work that doesn't know as much as you think they might know, or have as much respect for you as you might think they do. And it just moves down that thing. And it's about whenever we had that conversation, I'll give you a perfect example of how I can identify where someone's at. When they're sitting in the house and the rest of the house is outside, they're disconnected from the community. That's an identifier for me. When guys are running around doing stuff like they always have, and you're doing something completely different, and it's all about you. It's not about anyone else but you. What you're doing, whatever it is. But when your mind's about doing for others, it can't be about doing for you. That's one of the things that keeps you up. trap. I'm not saying that you can't do things for you. Don't, generalize it. Then that's when you get into order type of stuff. But your biggest thing is being able to receive what is being told to you. And you've definitely gotten a heck of a lot better than you have since day one. I thought at the beginning I was going to have to go Richie on you, just to get you to take those first couple steps. But those are some of the things that I saw that I already knew because I've walked it before you, and I've also walked tons of other people through it. So I knew what was coming up. But I can't sit you down and say, yo, dude, you're going to hit a train that's coming for you. And you're just going to get pissed off and have resentment against me. And, my goal right now is not to make you relapse. My goal is to massage you into a position that you have self-revelation of your current position. And so that's what the other night was. So we were having this awesome God conversation, and that was an example of an individual not knowing where they're at because of their unwillingness to be obedient to the things that have been laid before them, or their unwillingness to position themselves for some sort of growth discussion. And so what I did was, and I would say massage, that's probably about the nicest way I've ever done it. Massage someone into a place to where they can have self-revelation, because self-revelation is always the best, rather than me telling you knowledge. I want you to experience it. You trust it because you know why I'm here. You know why he's here. You know why he's here. You know why he's here. But boom, but boom, but boom. You know. And so you go, okay, well, I'm listening. I'm going to write it down. And I may not understand it all, but I'm going to put it down here. And then I'm going to be obedient to what's been put in front of me. And what is being put in front of you is not trying to figure things out. All of you that are sitting in here trying to figure your stuff out means you have too much time on your hands and you're not doing what's been put in front of you. And we all are in that position to be redirected. I mean, Dr. Jeffries and I just redirected Jacob. Walked in the office, said a couple things, and then we went boom, boom, boom. Put him back into position. We need that. We all need it. And the greater you think you are, the harder it is to get it. And the more successful you are, the harder it is to get it. And that sucks. I begged businessmen in this town to be my mentor. I couldn't get them to be authentic. I looked high and low in the churches. I found it in Joe W. and Eric Gregg and Eric Sims and Jacob and Dr. Mike and my wife. You guys got each other. You all came from the same place, just at different times, all in a different order. So there's so much power in here that's in the zone. It's just a willingness to listen and then do. Not listen, understand, and then do. You cannot understand something you've never been through. Nowhere in the Bible did God say, go do this. and you will get this. Or go do this because I'm trying to do this. Nowhere. He just says, do this. Go and do it. Be about God's business all the time. Be 100% authentic all the time. If you don't know who you are, where you're at, in this current position, there's no way you can be authentic. So it's kind of important to know this. That's why I'm stuck here for so long. For me to be stuck in this position for this long is like, I'm like big thinker, always moving forward. And God just keeps reminding me and showing me how important this is. And if you're unwilling to do the basics, you're unwilling to do the things in which God's placed in front of you, then you're just lying to yourself. I don't care how much time you spend praying. I don't care what you go and do. It's all irrelevant. Because you don't have a proper understanding of it based on that. And you're only acting based on your understanding. You just got to do. You go, man, I don't know why I got to do this. This sucks, but I'm doing it. Why? Because that guy did it, and 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 it all worked for him. Fruit. How fruity is that? Not because I understand it. Because the revelation does not come until after the fact. Sometimes just the revelation alone is the blessing. And we're not in charge of when that comes. It could be a year, it could be 6 months, it could be 10 years. You look back and you go, wow. You know, Friday night was very therapeutic for me because it brought me back kind of another understanding of my current position based on where I came in and identifying the truths. You know? And it reminded me of what God has overcome, which gives me incredible energy to move forward again, or at least to show up the next day. That's why we do this. That's why this thing is so important, because it is the power. What's the power? God. So this keeps us plugged in to Him. Keeps us as close as possible to Him.